My name is Harper Collins. And today, as I sit in my glass-walled office overlooking rows of gleaming cars, I can't help but smile at the irony of it all. The faint hum of engines outside blends with the low jazz playing softly from the ceiling speakers. My silk blouse feels cool against my skin. My heels click confidently on the marble floor whenever I move, and yet, beneath all that polish, I carry scars that no one sees. From where I sit, the sunlight bounces off the chrome hood of a brand new SUV parked out front. I trace the reflection with my eyes, remembering another car, one that was mine once, one that was stolen from me in the cruelest way. Just as the memory begins to rise, my phone buzzes across the desk. The vibration rattles against the glass, jolting me. I glance down. A name flashes across the screen, a name I haven't seen in years. My throat tightens. My parents. I let the phone buzz a few seconds longer, my manicured nails tapping the edge of my desk. A part of me wants to let it go to voicemail, to keep the silence I've earned. But curiosity tugs at me like a stubborn thread. With a deep breath, I swipe to answer. And in that moment, the carefully built walls of my present begin to tremble, cracks forming where the past still lives. I wasn't always the woman sitting in a corner office with leather seats and skyline views. Back then, I was just Harper, a small-town girl with oil-stained hands and a heart that beat faster at the sound of a revving engine than at any school dance. Cars were my escape. They weren't just machines to me, they were freedom. I still remember my first car, a battered but beautiful navy blue Mustang that I spent an entire summer fixing with money from waitressing shifts. That car wasn't just metal and wheels. It was proof that I could build something of my own, that I could go somewhere when the world around me tried to hold me still. But my parents never understood. To them, my passion was a waste of time. They wanted me to be practical, polished, maybe even married young. They didn't see the spark in me. They only saw the grease under my fingernails and the hours I spent in the garage instead of in college lectures. The breaking point came one sweltering afternoon. I came home from my shift at the diner, sweat clinging to my uniform, hair pulled back in a messy knot. The driveway was empty. My car, my Mustang, was gone. I ran inside, my heart pounding. "Where's my car?" I demanded, my voice trembling. My father didn't look up from his newspaper. "We sold it. You need to stop wasting your life on childish things." The words hit me harder than a slap. I felt my knees weaken, my throat close. My mother tried to soothe me, saying, "It's for your own good, Harper. You'll thank us someday." But I didn't thank them. I couldn't. My fists clenched, nails biting into my palms as hot tears blurred my vision. They hadn't just sold a car. They had sold my dream, my independence, my voice. That night, I sat on my bed clutching a keychain that had hung from my Mustang's mirror, a small silver horseshoe my grandmother had given me. I remembered her words, "If they take your car, Harper, then build yourself a road." It was then that I made a silent vow. If they wouldn't believe in me, I would believe in myself. If they thought they had ended my journey, they were wrong. That night, under the dim glow of my bedside lamp, with tears drying on my cheeks and my hands shaking, I promised myself one thing. I'd never let anyone take my wheels away from me again. The morning after my parents sold my car, I woke up with swollen eyes and a hollow chest. But beneath the grief was something sharper: determination. I didn't know exactly how, but I knew this. If they took my Mustang, I'd build a life so big they could never take it away. So, I started small. Very small. I took a job at a rundown auto shop on the edge of town. At first, I was just sweeping floors, scrubbing grease stains, running for coffee. Most of the guys laughed when I asked to help with actual repairs. "This isn't a place for lipstick and manicures, sweetheart," one of them sneered. I smiled, said nothing, and stayed late after hours. When the shop was quiet, I studied. I traced wiring diagrams, practiced tightening bolts until my fingers ached, memorized engine parts like vocabulary words. My nails chipped, my hands blistered, and I went home smelling like gasoline more nights than I can count. But slowly, I became good. Not just good for a girl. Good, period. One person noticed. Her name was Janet Morales, a tough-as-nails mechanic who had been in the business 20 years. She didn't hand out compliments, but the day she tossed me a wrench and said, "All right, Collins, let's see what you've got," I knew I'd earned her respect. Janet became my mentor. She taught me everything, not just engines but survival. She showed me how to stand firm when customers doubted me, how to hold my head high when the guys cracked jokes. She also taught me business. She'd say, "Turning wrenches is one thing, Harper. Owning the shop? That's where the power is." Those words stuck. I saved every dollar I could. I took night classes in business management, spent weekends flipping cheap used cars I repaired in Janet's garage, and reinvested every cent. There were nights I cried from exhaustion, mornings I questioned if I was crazy. But each small win, selling my first rebuilt car, landing my first repeat customer, paying off my first loan, fueled me. Years passed. I grew sharper, stronger. By the time I was 27, I had enough saved to take a risk, buying a small, struggling dealership on the outskirts of the city. Everyone thought I was insane, but I saw what they didn't: potential. I poured myself into that dealership. I redesigned the showroom, negotiated fiercely with suppliers, trained my staff with Janet's tough love approach. Slowly, it turned around. Then I bought another, and another. Now, I don't just sell cars. I own an empire built on engines, grit, and the very thing my parents thought they stole from me. And the sweetest part? I never told them. On Facebook, I posted simple updates: a new apartment, a trip with friends, nothing flashy. When they asked about work, I said, "Oh, just busy." I let them believe I was ordinary. Let them think I'd settled into something safe, small, forgettable. Because deep down, I was waiting for the day they'd see the truth with their own eyes. The day it finally happened, I wasn't expecting it. It was a Thursday afternoon, sunlight spilling across the dealership lot, bouncing off polished chrome and gleaming glass. My staff were busy with clients, the low murmur of conversations blending with the scent of leather and fresh wax. I was in my office, finishing a meeting, when my assistant buzzed in. "Harper, there's a couple here asking to speak with the manager. They said it's urgent." Something in her voice caught me. I stepped out, and there they were. My parents. Time slowed. My father's hair was grayer, my mother's shoulders a little slumped, but their presence still hit me like a punch to the chest. They didn't recognize me right away, not standing behind the sleek reception desk in a tailored blazer, clipboard in hand. They were too busy glancing around, taking in the showroom filled with cars worth more than our old house. "Can we see the owner?" my father asked, his tone clipped with the same authority I remembered from childhood. "We need to discuss financing options." My assistant looked at me. I nodded slightly. "Right this way." I led them past the gleaming cars, past the sales team who addressed me with respect, past the office doors marked with polished plaques. My heels clicked against the marble floor, each step echoing louder in my head. Finally, I opened the frosted glass door to my office. "Please sit." They lowered themselves into the leather chairs, glancing at the modern art on the walls, the shelves lined with awards, the floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the city skyline. My father cleared his throat. "So, when will the manager join us?" I let the silence stretch, a slow smile tugging at my lips. "You're already speaking to her." Their heads snapped toward me. My mother blinked. "You?" "Yes," I said, folding my hands on the desk. "I'm the owner of Collins Automotive Group. Every car you just walked past, every dealership in the city with my name on the sign belongs to me." For a moment, they were speechless. My father's jaw tightened, his eyes darting around the room as if searching for proof I was lying. My mother pressed a hand to her chest. "But how?" she whispered.
"How?"
I repeated, leaning back in my chair. "Do you remember that Mustang you sold out from under me? The car I worked nights and weekends to fix? That day, you didn't just sell my car. You lit a fire in me. You forced me to prove that I didn't need your approval or your permission." The silence between us was thick, almost suffocating. My father shifted uncomfortably. "We were trying to help you, Harper. You were wasting your time." "Wasting my time?" My voice was calm, but steady as steel. Does this look like wasted time to you? I gestured around the office, toward the glass walls that revealed rows of high-end vehicles and busy salespeople moving with purpose. They had no answer. Finally, my mother's eyes welled with tears. "We didn't know," she whispered. I studied her face. For years, I had imagined this moment, their shock, their disbelief, their guilt. And now that it was here, it was everything I thought it would be, and yet something more. Because in their silence, I didn't just see guilt. I saw recognition. For the first time in my life, they were seeing me not as a daughter who disappointed them, but as a woman who had built something they couldn't deny. I leaned forward, my voice low but unwavering. "You thought you sold my car, but what you really did was hand me the keys to this." Their stunned faces reflected back at me in the glass of my desk, a moment I knew I'd carry forever. The room was silent, thick with tension. My parents' eyes darted between me and the dealership around them, struggling to process the truth. For years, they had held the power, deciding what I could or couldn't have, shaping my world without my input. But now, the balance had shifted. I leaned back in my chair, letting them take in the space. The office smelled faintly of fresh leather and polished wood, and the sunlight glinting off the awards on the wall highlighted the truth they could no longer ignore. I had built this empire myself. "I can help you," I said, my voice soft but firm. "But it's on my terms." They blinked, uncertainty flickering across their faces. My father opened his mouth, then closed it again. I smiled, letting the pause stretch. "First," I continued, "any financial assistance comes with accountability. You must take responsibility for your choices. No more blaming others. No more excuses." My mother's lips trembled. "Harper." "Second," I said, holding her gaze, "you must respect my independence. I am no longer the girl whose dreams you dismissed. I am not here to answer to your doubts or fears. If you want my help, you meet me as an equal." My father's jaw tightened. I could see the old patterns trying to surface, the authority, the judgment. But I was ready. "Third," I said, "anyone who steps into this dealership or into my life must understand that success comes with effort. If you want opportunities, you work for them. You can't just walk in expecting handouts." Their faces mirrored shock, humility, and disbelief all at once. They had lived their lives thinking they held the keys, only to find that the doors they had locked on me had become my own. Finally, I added the last condition, the one that mattered most. "You must change the way you see me and others. No more dismissing dreams. No more thinking your way is the only way. Support each other. Grow. Learn. And maybe then, we can move forward together." For a moment, the weight of it all hung in the room. I could almost hear the years of misunderstanding crack under the strain. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't vindictive. I was firm. Compassionate, yes, but unwavering. I had fought tooth and nail to claim my space in a world that doubted me, and I wouldn't let anyone, not even my parents, diminish that achievement. And yet, there was a quiet satisfaction in seeing them listen, in seeing their shoulders relax just a little, in knowing that my voice, the voice they had tried to silence, now carried the authority they had once monopolized. This was more than just power. This was recognition. This was respect earned. And most importantly, it was freedom, mine to give, mine to define, mine to protect. The weeks that followed were quiet, almost tender in their own way. My parents didn't change overnight. Habits linger, old patterns die slowly, but they tried. My father asked for advice on small business decisions, listened instead of lecturing. My mother began supporting me in ways she had never known how before, even celebrating small victories without a trace of condescension. I watched them cautiously, a part of me still bracing for disappointment, but also hoping. And slowly things shifted. My dealership thrived, my staff respected me, and I could finally look at the life I had built without flinching at the memories of betrayal. I found pride not just in the empire I had created, but in the journey itself, every late night, every tear, every lesson learned. Those moments were my road. paved with grit and persistence. On a quiet afternoon, I found myself holding the small silver keychain for my first car, the one my grandmother had given me, the one I had clutched when my Mustang was taken away. I ran my fingers over it and smiled. You were right, Grandma. They did take my car, but all they did was give me the chance to build my own road. I pinned it above my desk, a reminder of where I came from and the woman I had become. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the showroom in soft gold, I walked through the rows of cars. Each vehicle gleamed like a testament to my persistence, my vision, my refusal to be underestimated. I thought of my parents, of the old battles, of the lessons learned the hard way. And I realized that the most important victories were not the ones in the office, or on the balance sheet, or even the title of owner. They were the victories over fear, doubt, and the voices that told me I couldn't. I had built more than a dealership. I had built a life I could stand in proudly, a life no one could ever sell, no one could ever diminish. And standing there, amidst polished chrome and sunlight, I whispered quietly to myself, the words carrying the weight of every struggle and triumph. They sold my car, but they didn't know they were fueling the woman who would one day own the road. It was more than irony. It was justice. It was freedom. It was mine.